Donald Trump now facing two indictments, of course, one in New York. Now comes Tuesday in Florida. We're now joined by two experienced prosecutors from both of those states with an insider's knowledge of how these cases will likely unfold, possibly impact one another. Michael Scotto, the former chief of the Rackets Bureau for the Manhattan DA's office, and also Dave Aronberg is the Florida State Attorney for Palm Beach County. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. Appreciate it so much. Let's start in Florida because we must, shall we? It's going to become the center of the political universe even more so starting on Tuesday. I wanted you to get your take on why you think the special counsel chose Florida as opposed to D.C., what we know about the judge if one's been assigned, and what do you think that could mean for the case itself?
Well, good morning. Good to be back with you. The reason why it's in South Florida is because prosecutors have to bring the case in the area where the crime allegedly occurred. And Jack Smith would rather have this case in Washington, D.C. It's a much more favorable jury pool up there. Washington, D.C. only went for Trump by 5% of the vote. That's a total 5% of Washington, D.C. voted for Trump in the last presidential election. In Miami-Dade County, where it is right now, it's 46%. If it gets moved to Palm Beach County, it's 43%. So there's that legally you need to have in the area where the crimes occurred, and the obstruction and the espionage seem to occur at Mar-a-Lago, not in D.C. And prosecutors don't want to lose this case based on a venue challenge. And then there's also the political side. Jack Smith wants to do this in a red state in Trump's home community to let it be known this is not political. This is about evidence, the law, and the rule of law.
And what do you know about the judge, if anything?
Well, I haven't seen a judge assigned yet. And when the judge gets assigned, then we'll be able to make an opinion. But look, it could be any judge in the Southern District of Florida. The one judge people keep talking about is a judge closer to me in West Palm Beach, Eileen Cannon, the one who seemed to give Trump everything he wanted when it came to the special master. But even though there are about 5 judges, I think, appointed by Donald Trump when he was president down here in the Southern District of Florida, just about them all have a good reputation.
And Michael, now to you. We talked to you a lot during the indictment in New York. We know that, of course, they can't use the indictment in New York as evidence, or they're not necessarily related in their scope. But how does that case actually affect how the case will be scheduled and run? And is there any way to use the information from one or the other in those ongoing trials?
There doesn't seem to be any connection whatsoever other than it's an indictment. The New York case already has a fairly aggressive schedule given the amount of documents. The defense are going to be filing a motion or a series of motions to dismiss on August 8th. They also have, of course, made an application to have the case removed to federal court so it would be heard in the Southern District of New York. And that's pending. In fact, the district attorney put in some response papers, and Mr. Trump's team is going to have an opportunity to reply to those, and there might actually be a hearing on that on June 27th. But as far as the state case goes, there's already an early 2024 trial date. And, you know, the other issue that just recently came up was that former President Trump's team had actually filed, it was kind of unusual, a request for the judge to explain himself because the judge had made some contributions to some anti-Trump PACs. But as far as it being interrelated, no interrelation, and the cases will proceed. Hopefully there'll be some coordinated effort. I think, obviously, if this is an Espionage Act case, it's a much stronger charge that the former president is facing. But we'll have to see how the New York courts handle that. And we'll also have to see whether or not it is removed to the Southern District of New York, which, again, has a different jury pool than Manhattan.
To say the least. Yeah, that's for sure. Dave, all right, let me get to what I personally think is the most fascinating part, or will be the most fascinating part of this, and that is jury selection, because these lawyers have to get together at some point and get some folks in a box who will decide Donald Trump's fate inside that courtroom, in certainly friendlier territory to Trump than New York or D.C. Would ever be. Do you think there will be anything peculiar about how they go about picking a jury, because this is such a high-profile case? Everybody knows Donald Trump. Everyone is at least slightly aware of this case, and there's all kinds of political sensitivities involved, including an ongoing campaign that could be the backdrop to the trial if things move quickly enough. How do you see jury selection working? It's riveting if you think about it.
It is riveting, and I see it as similar to other high-profile cases where jurors may know about the parties. I'm sure they will. They may know about the nature of the case, but as long as they can put their biases aside and just follow the evidence and the law, they can be jurors. And that's why you're able to find jurors in any high-profile case. It's not that you're looking for a blank slate. You just look to people who can be fair, who can be unbiased, and make their judgments based on the evidence and the law. I think it can be done. I tell you, though, if it is in Miami, and we're not sure yet if this case is going to get moved up to West Palm Beach, where I am, or stays in Miami, but if it is in Miami, Miami's had a checkered past of convicting elected officials. It is a hotbed for conspiracy theories down there, and I think that would play to Trump and the MAGA base to get a jury in Miami as opposed to other parts of South Florida.
Let me ask you both, and Michael, back to you. When we actually get our hands on the indictment and actually see the case that's been built, everything until then is conjecture and speculation. Once we actually get in our hands, what will you be looking for most urgently or most importantly? Michael, first to you.
Well, I mean, if there's a conspiracy count, there'll be more details, right? Generally speaking, the indictments in federal court are just the statute. The defendant committed it on this day, right? There's not a lot of detail. If there is a conspiracy charge, and we've heard that there may be, it'll be what's called a speaking indictment. It'll lay out acts in furtherance of the conspiracy. So I think we'll get a lot more information. Right now, obviously, we're speculating. But until we see the indictment, we won't know if it'll be a bare bones indictment or it'll be a speaking indictment, which brings us through, the various acts. And if there is a conspiracy, acts in furtherance of the conspiracy. But again, we're hearing it's a 7-count indictment. And it seems to be focused on those documents, particularly the Iran document and the recording that we spoke about last week, which was just revealed. But I think it probably will be a speaking indictment because, frankly, I think the country needs to know what he's being charged with. And so then we can get rid of some of these, theories out there and political prosecution, witch hunt, whatnot.
And Dave, your thoughts on the same question?
I agree with Michael. I'm hoping it'll be a speaking indictment. We need to know more. It'd be good for the court of public opinion to have more details. Right now, the Justice Department is silent. They haven't said anything. The indictment is sealed, and this gives Donald Trump the runway to say everything he wants and set the tone. And I think prosecutors need to say something soon because you don't want the narrative to get away from you. But in the end, this is going to be a case about Trump in his own words. If they have that recording where Trump says, these documents are classified, I can't declassify them, I want to show them to you, well, here it is, here it is. I mean, that's the kind of smoking gun recording which apparently exists that could be Trump's undoing.
And let's still be mindful, as I've said before this morning, we still don't know what the special counsel will do about January 6th, which is entirely separate from classified documents. And we still don't know what the DA here in Atlanta will do with a potential election interference charge related to how he handled himself with Georgia in the presidential election. But you get the sense that, too, will be a sprawling case, perhaps with multiple indictments, including the former president. We could be looking at a situation where the frontrunner for the GOP nomination has been indicted 4 times while running for president. It is extraordinary, politically and legally. Michael, Dave, thank you both so much for your time and expertise. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, still ahead, all the fresh fallout from the Trump indictment.